Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Usman. I am a web developer and I make tutorials about web development. So if this is something that interests you, consider subscribing to my channel. Also make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. So today we are going to build a random user generator app using ReactJS. And how the application works, basically we have a button which says get user, and when I click over the button we get a user from random user API, and we see that the text of the button changed from get user to get another user, and I can fetch users, and here we have a couple of icons, and whenever I hover over them we see that the information above changes. So this is what we are going to build, guys. Stay with me because we will open Visual Studio Code right now and start creating this application from scratch. So I have created a new folder and I have opened this folder with Visual Studio Code. Now what we need to do is we need to open our terminal, and before we run any commands, please make sure that you have Node.js installed, because without Node.js you won't be able to create the React application. Install Node.js, and by installing that you will have access to the npm package manager, which will enable you to use the commands. So right now I will say npx create-react-app, and after that I can give any name I want to the application. I will call it random user generator, and I will hit enter. This will start installing all the needed dependencies, so I will get back to you when all the dependencies are created. Okay, so our project is configured now and we are ready to begin. So we have to follow the commands here, which are cd into random user generator, and then we can start our development server by typing npm start. I will start my development server. By default it will open it at localhost 3000. So I will get back to you when my server is started. So the server is started right now, and it opened that by default, as I said, in localhost 3000, and we see what React app gives us by default. So let's go back to our project, and here let's look at the configuration. We have a source folder, we have a public folder, and we also have a node modules folder. So inside the index.js, let's start getting rid of the unnecessary things. So I will remove this. I will remove the react.strict mode. So I will delete all this stuff and place a comma here. Get rid of this as well. And I will also delete the index.css file. We don't need it. And I will save this index.js file, and we can delete this setup.test.js. We don't need it. Delete this file as well. Delete the logo. Delete the app.test file. Delete. Yeah, so we have deleted the things that we don't need. Inside the app.css, let's delete everything and leave it blank for the moment, and go back to our index, close the index, go back to the app.js file, remove the logo import, and also remove everything below the diff with the class name of app. And here let's place an h1, which will say hello from React app. If I save all this right now, we should be able to see that in the browser, and we see hello from React app. Great. So let's start with styling the application, and then we will start with the structure of the application. So what I will do now is I will go to my app.css file and I will start styling the application. So we will have margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing to be border box for the reset. Then we will have, for the div with the class name of app, the div which is injected into the web page, into the DOM, we will have the display to be flex. Flex direction will be column. Justify content will be center. Align items will be center. We would also give this a width of 100%, and height will be 100 VUH, and the overflow will be hidden. We don't want any scroll bars. The background color will be F4. Okay, so I say background color. So it's hexadecimal F4. And what else? The font family, I want to be Georgia times New Roman times serif. And I believe this is good for the moment. So below this, we will also style, we will have a button as you saw. So the button will be with the margin of 20 pixels auto for the left and right. The color of the button will be white. And the background of the button will be hexadecimal 333, which is kind of dark gray. Padding will be 10 pixels. And font size will be 80 pixels. We can also give this button a border, although it will not be so visible. And we can say 1 pixel solid 3333. Great. Let's go below the button now and let's start styling the image we will get from the API. So for the image, I will say width of 250 pixels, height of 250 pixels, margin of 10 pixels for the top and bottom and 0 for the left and right, border radius of 50%, we want the image to be circular, and a border of 1 pixel solid DE. Below this, we can start styling the div we will create inside the app component, which will be with the class name of app __ user, and this div will have a width of auto and height of auto. It will be display flex, align items center, justify content center, and flex direction will be column. Below this div, let's style the other div we will have, which will store the icons. So I will say app __ icons, and this div will be display flex. We will say justify content center and align items center. Below this, we will have .app underscore icons with class of fast, and this one will be with a margin of 0 pixels top and bottom and 30 pixels left and right. And I will give that a transition of all 2 seconds ease. And when we hover over the icons, I'll say up underscore icons dot fast semicolon hover. I want them to transform scale 1.1, and also I want the cursor to be pointer. So we are done with the styling of the app. Let's go back to our app.js and let's start writing our logic and our structure. So here right now we have an h1 with which says hello from React app. So I will delete this, and inside the div with the class name of app, I will create an h1 which will say random user generator app, and below this random user generator app we will have a button which I will create as a separate component in a components folder. So here in the source I will create a folder called components, and inside the components folder I will create one component called button.js. And now I will type in RFCA, which is a nice ReactJS snippet that you can install from the extensions, and that will generate my function component. So I like arrow functions, so I will say const button equals parentheses arrow, and that will transform it to an arrow function. And inside this div here we will have a button which for the moment will say get user. Okay, let's save this and let's bring it into our app. So I'll say import button from /components, and we have to say button. And here we can place our button component with a self-closing tag, and I can save, and now we should be able to see our button. And we see that it has the styles we gave it. Okay, I see something that we can improve in the styling. I see an outline, which I don't personally like. So let's go here and say outline none. And let's save and go back and now we don't have an outline. And we can also say cursor pointer for the button. Let's save, and now it's okay. Okay, so we have the initial state of our application, which we saw in the presentation video. So let's go back to our app.js file and start creating some logic. So inside the app.js, I will also convert my app function into an arrow function. So I'll say const app equals an arrow function, and I will save, and we should not have any change. Yes, we don't have any change. Everything is fine. So now let's assign an event listener to the button, and let's fetch some users. So what we will do is we will create a couple of constants So I'll say const user data set user data will be equal to useState, and the initial state will be an empty array. And we will use that user data to populate our information coming from the API inside. So you have seen that React automatically imported useState for me without typing it. If that's not the case with you, feel free to import it manually, typing import useState from React. Another thing that we need to do now is we'll say const loading set loading, and that will be equal to useState, and this will be false in the beginning. So we'll have also const active user set active user, which will be used in order to make the logic with the button to say get user or get another user. You will see that later now. So for the moment, this will be useState false. And finally, we can say const active link set active link, and that will be equal to useState 0, and this will be responsible for displaying the active link and all the logic about hovering over the icons. So now below this we can create an on-click handler for the button. So I'll say const on-click handler, and that will be equal to an arrow functions, and that will be what this will be doing. So here we will implement our logic for fetching the data. So first of all, before doing this, let's make sure we make this work. So right now we have button inside the app component, and the button is a child component of the app component. So how we can pass data between the parent and the child? We can do this by using props. So the way we pass data with props is by saying a name, which I will say is active, and that will be equal to active user. Also, we will have a prop called clicked, and that will be equal to our on-click handler. Okay, and after we have done this, let's place a console log here, which will say button is working, and let's save and head back to the button.js, and here I will do destructuring of the props. So we need to import the same name we have given for the props, so is active and clicked. So we can say is active clicked, and here we can say on click equals clicked, which is the function prop. And let's save now and head back to our application, open our developer tools and clear this, click, and you see the button is working on the right side. Great. So that's fine for the moment. Let's head back to our app.js and start using our API. So we will navigate into randomuser.me, and you will see the documentation for the API down below, how to use it, and what kind of response do you get from the API. We will copy this URL here, and this is absolutely free for usage. You don't have to pay anything. So we will copy this, and I will close this for the moment, and I'll go back to the app.js file. So here, what we will do is, first of all, we'll say set loading to be true. And below this, we will implement the fetching logic. So I'll say Axios, but first of all, we have to install Axios. So what we will do now is I will open another terminal here, and I will type npm install -- save Axios, and that will install Axios for me. And we should have Axios installed as a dependency in our package.json file. So after that, I will close this terminal, and I will import Axios from Axios. And here down below, I will say axios.get, and I will place our URL here, just like that. And we will say .then, that will return our response. And what we want to do with the response, basically we can console log the response to see the response. And also we will populate the user data variable by calling the set user data function. So I will say set user data, and we'll pass response data results. Why results? Because when I save now, you would be able to see the response if I open my developer tools again and I click the button. We'll see what we are getting as a response from the server, but the actual data is inside data and inside results object. So this is why I set data.results. Great. So what else we need to do? We can say .catch and here we can have an error. And what we want to do, we want to console log the error, and we also want to set loading to true. And finally, when the promise is fulfilled, we can say set loading to be false, which here above it's okay. So now let's save this and go back and press the button, and we see that we get the results again. However, I would like to see what I am using from the API, so I'll say console log data.results. Okay, let's save now, and now we have this working. So below the return inside the div with the class name of app, let's implement some logic. So what I will say is I'll make a check. So if it's loading, I would like to output an h1 which will say loading, else I will have a div with the class name of app__user. So we'll say div, and for the class name of this div, we will say app__user. And inside this div, we will map through the data to output something. But before that, let's create the logic for the button. So inside the button, right now it's get user, but how this will work when we already have a user. So if you remember, we have active user and set active user, and we set the active user here when we already have a user. So I'll say set active user to be true, and inside the button.js I will make a check. So I will open my curly brackets and I will say is active. If it's active, meaning that if it's false initially, we want to say get user. Actually, it should be get another user. Else, it will say get user. So let's save now and let's see whether this is working. I will save everything, go back to the app, and I click. We have a user, and it stays like this. And we don't see the user right now, but we will output the image in a moment. So our logic is working. So let's go back to our app.js, and here inside this div with the class name of app__user, let's output the image. So in order to do that, we have to loop through the data. So what I will do is I will say user data dot map, and here I'll say user, and I will output, I'll say return, and what I will return will be a fragment of elements, and I will also pass the index here, and I will import fragment from React, fragment, so that I can get rid of this error. And inside this fragment right now, we will have an image, and the source of the image will be coming from the API. So if we click the button, we will be able to see our data here. So the image will be the object, which is picture, and we will choose the large property. So we'll say user.picture.large, and for the alt, I will say hash, and we can make this a self-closing tag. Fine, let's save and let's go back to our app, and we see our picture. So let's make this smaller, and we see the user, and we also see that the button changes from get user to get another user when we have a user. Let's reload. Let's do this again. We have our user, but we have a warning. Each child in the list should have a unique key prop. So to fix this warning, we need to give this fragment a unique key. So I'll say key, and that key will be equal to user dot, let's use the cell. So I'll say cell. And when I save now and remove everything and reload the app and click on get user, we don't see that error anymore. Perfect. So what we will do more now is we will go back to our app.js component, and here we can start creating the icons. So in order to do that, we will have to use font awesome. So I will go to cdn.js and open this link, and here I can say font awesome and click here, and then we can copy this link tag, and after we have copied that link tag we can close everything and go back to our project, and here inside the public folder we have index.html file, the file which actually gets injected into the DOM, and here inside the head tag we can paste this link and save, and we should be ready to go. And here in the app.js component now, let's create a constant with the name of icons, and that will be an array. So we'll have all the icons here as strings, and the first one will be fa-user, and I can copy this a couple of times, and the second one will be fa-envelope, the third one will be fa-calendar-alt, and the fourth one will be fa-map-marker, and then we'll have more. We'll have fa-phone, and we will also have fa-lock. And what we can do also, we can make them a little bit bigger, so I can say fa-4x, which will make them slightly bigger. 4x, 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 and 4x, and finally fa-4x. Okay, let's save, and now let's return back to our div with the class name of app__users, and here below the image we can place another div, and that div will have the class name of app__icons, and inside this div we will output our icons. So what I will do is I will say icons dot map, so that will be an icon, so index, and I can return icon with the class name of icon and the key will be index. Now if I save everything and go back to our browser, and if I click the get user button, we see our icons below the image. Great. So what is missing right now is the logic whenever we hover over them to display different information above them. So in order to implement this, we can create a separate component which I will call const phrase generator, and that will be a functional component which will have some logic inside, and that will also return something. So I will return some h1 here, which for the moment will say this is phrase generator component. After I have done this, we can output this component here, and that will be above our image, below our image, I'm sorry. So we can say phrase generator and save and go back to our browser, and we see the component above the images. Okay, so what we need to do now is go back to our phrase component, and here let's implement some logic. So we can pass to our phrase generator a prop, and I can say user equals user, and here we'll have this user imported as a prop, and I'll say const phrases, and that will be an array, and the first one will be, I will use template literals, and I will say hi, my name is the $, and the name of this will be from the object we have. If I make this bigger, so we have this object with all the data we need, and the name is hidden inside this key. So it's name, first, and last. So what we can do is we can say user.name .first, and then we can say user.name.last. Great, so let's copy this a couple of times. We should have 6 phrases. So right now we have 4. Let's copy and let's place commas here everywhere. And for the second one, it will say my email address is. So the email is here. So we can say email address is, and that will be user.email. The third one will be the born year, so we'll say I was born on, and if we look at the API, we will see DOB, which stands for date of birth, and we have date object with the value of this. So we can go back and we can say I was born on user.dob date. However, if you look at the data right now, it's the year, the month, and the day, and some kind of numeric value for the hours, and I don't want this. So we can count how many strings we have: 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we can say dot slice from the position 0 up to the 10th position, and we can save now. We won't see anything yet. Let's go back. The next one is the marker, so I can say here I can fix this to my email address is, my country is, and the country is, if we look at the API, it should be, where is the country here? Oh, it's location. Oh, it's location and country. Okay, so we can say user.location.country. Okay, the country is done, and we have the cell phone and the lock. So we can say hi, my name. It will become my phone number is user dot, it will be phone, and finally my password is, and that will be user.password. Let's make sure that's correct. We have password somewhere. Okay, so it's under login, I believe. Yeah, it's under login. So we can say user.login.password. Okay, now that we have created this array, what we need now is the logic for the active link. So whenever we hover over the links, this needs to change. So to do that, I'll close this. We will go back to our app.js file, and here when we hover, so I will say on mouse enter, and that will be equal to an arrow function which will execute another function we will call active link handler, and here we will pass our index. So let's create this active link handler here. So I'll create it here. Const active link handler, which will be an arrow function, and it will take the index. And what this function will be, it will say set active link Okay, let me see why it's not. Okay, so we can say set active link to the index we receive. So when I save now, and here what we can return inside this phrase generator can be phrases active link that will say which one is the active one. So when I hover over the icons now, we see that they change. The text above them changes, which is so cool. But we don't see our style. So what I will do now is I will also create a constant which I will call style, and that will be an object, and I'll say color will be green. And here I'll hit prettier. Okay, I have a mistake here, so I'll hit prettier now, and here we'll say style equals style. And when I save now and go back, we will see that all of them are green. So to solve this problem, what we need to do we can go back here in the app component, and here on the onClick handler we can reset that by saying set active link to be 0. Now if I save and go back, they are all green again, which comes from this one here. It shouldn't be an arrow function, it will be just executing the function. 2-minute renders, React user infinite loop. Okay, let's return this. And the problem here is because we are giving this style to all of them, but we need to have a logic. So we can say active link if the active link is equal to the index, so the current icon we are hovering on, then we want to apply the styling, else we want to be null. So now if I save and go back, you see that we are hovering over the icons and the information changes and it's correct. So I can get another user and we are fetching the users. It's working fine. If I get the user, we see that the active link becomes automatically the first one. Yeah, so when I hover over the other ones, it works. So one thing that I didn't like is that there is no margin between the information and the icons. So what we can do is we can go back to our app.css, and here we can say margin 20 pixels 0, and go back. Now we have a margin. So testing the React app again, We can get users. It's working fine. So that was it, guys. I really hoped you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And thank you so much for watching again, and I see you in the next video.